Shall we talk about Unforgotten?
Yes, we shall.
Now, you might need to help me with this again because I have seen the third and the fourth
You
episodes.
skip forward one
I skipped
after. I
forward,
can't blame you. I can't blame
and
you.
I've almost skipped forward again because I've got episode five
Ooh,
open at the moment.
ooh.
This episode, we learn about Rosie Cavalliero's marrying Kelsey, her sort of link to the deceased. What's his name? Is it Walker? Something Walker?
David Walker.
David Walker, or as we call him, the man in the suitcase. Before we start, actually, I know. Well, this links in. I would just say. So we found out like
What are you on about?
when she. I'll come back to my original point in a minute, but we found out that marrying Kelsey was sort of a bit of a tearaway when she was younger. Did she break into her own house, her mum's house?
They were away on business, and she broke in and had people over.
And we know that she was involved in a protest. And this brings me to the point I was going to make. That
I was looking forward to it when you started it. Earlier.
I started to notice. I think this was when I was watching the fourth episode. That in the opening credits they've got certain sort of visual clues to certain things.
I noticed that as well.
There is a scene of people with placards in the opening sequence. There's a suitcase in there, like cocaine on credit cards, obviously a link to all the the drug taking.
See, I spend most of the credits just singing the theme.
I know, but the big thing is the final shot is of a tent. And as far as I know, there's nothing yet that they've sort of linked to a tent, so that'll be. And also in this episode, we had Adil Akhtar's character Hassan find out that his wife Sarah used to be a prostitute. I thought the performance, the scene they had together in the car was absolutely tremendous.
It was really nice and underplayed, and just. It was not done for dramatics. It was done with dignity, which I really. And that's what Unforgotten does a lot.
The actress's name, I've got it here because I'd forget it otherwise. Badria Tamimi, and I thought she was fantastic. And she has actually been one of the standouts for me. I know she's the one of the four that we don't really know because we've not seen her in anything before. But...
She gives quite a chilling performance actually, because if we skip to the end, where it cuts to Rosie Cavaliero meeting in the pub. And
this was one of those moments. It almost felt like the end of the first episode of The Missing when he went, but that girl was not Alice Webster.
Yeah, it's like it's like a real revelation moment where you don't know where Rosie Cavaliero's character is off to. She goes to the pub, they open the pub door, and they're sat round a table waiting for Mark Bonner's character and...
Badria Tamimi, Sarah and Simon. Not Simon.
No,
sorry,
Simon.
Colin.
Sarah's look to the camera and to Rosie Cavaliero's character is so chilling. It's like she gives you the impression she's a completely different person to the one you've been spending the first 3 episodes with. Or that's what I took away from that scene, and the idea that these people aren't just connected, but have been in cahoots with one another all this time, or at least during the investigation now, and have met up, really sent the chill down.
Because I thought, when I was watching it, they're going through all these people have got secrets, and it's obviously going to affect their lives, mainly for the worse, like it did in the first series, and I was thinking, where can they go that they didn't go in the first series? And then, all the characters know each other.
Yes.
It's
interesting how TV conditions us to presume that because we've seen something once, we know. And of anybody who should know that that's not the case, it's the 3 of us. But even we are guilty of thinking, we know exactly what this is. I mean, some characters in the first series of Unforgotten a few years ago turned out to have quite inconsequential, even. I'll say a word that exists.
They all knew the murder victim. They were all in a book or something, weren't they? Like an address book that they found. And the 4th episode, without giving anything away, does bring in some really sort of controversial themes. Obviously, we already know that he was assaulted by one of his teachers when he was young, and apparently the only people that knew was one of his friends, and that he confronted the teacher
himself.
But it does take a turn in episode 4, so it'll be interesting to see what you think of it.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Rosie Cavaliero and say that I've never been a massive fan of hers. I used to, in the early days when she was doing more comedic stuff, I'd often get her and Jessica Hines mixed up. And so I didn't really, credit her much. And then when she did Prey, I sort of saw that she could do...
Yeah, I thought she was good in Prey.
And I didn't really warm to her at the beginning of this, but the scene between her and Nicola Walker was one of my favourites of the episode, and possibly one of my favourite scenes of TV this year.
And I thought the scene with her and the young girl in the pub as well was quite good. That was this episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was episode 3, yeah. Yes. No, that hasn't happened yet, Nat. What are you talking about? No, that was episode 3. I feel bad because I never really gave her the credit that she's so clearly deserving.
She was quite good, actually, and I know you didn't watch this. I think it was Banana rather than Cucumber. That was the E4 one, wasn't it? She was very good in an episode of that.
The scene between
where
her
she
and
was
Nicola
very
Walker.
antagonistic.
Because I thought that was the first sign.
Yeah.
And it's another nod to the greatness of Chris Lang's writing. It's another sign of her showing a different side to us as viewers. She was really on edge. You really believed she was uncomfortable and, as you say, antagonistic. And I thought, really good scene.
And then, when she yells at her mum and sister on the phone. And...
on the answer machine.
Who is he? His name was David Walker. He ran a small chain of clubs in the 80s.
I've never been a clubber myself.
No, me neither. Music's always too loud for me. We've spoken to your mum and sister. She seemed to think that you might have been living in her house at some point in early 1990.
Did she say I broke in?
Well, she did, yes, actually.
My father was on a lecture tour of America for 3 months and I was temporarily homeless, so I had a key, let myself in, stayed there for a few days, if that's breaking in.
Sure. As you say, it couldn't have been her that gave that address out because she was abroad, so could it have been you?
Sure.
Oh, okay. But you don't have any recollection of doing so?
From sometime in 1990, no, sorry.
Okay, no problem. So your mum said that you left home in about 1985.
Yeah.
And you stayed in London?
Yeah, various places.
And was 32 Smoke Lane one of them?
I was there for a while, yeah.
This was the address, in fact, that you gave after you were arrested in 1988 for assaulting a police officer.
I never assaulted anyone.
At a demonstration in North London.
Policeman attacked me, I was defending myself.
For which you were found guilty at Horseferry Road Magistrates Court and fined £100.
You look like a smart woman to me. I'm sure you couldn't be so spectacularly dim as to suggest that a police officer from the 80s... Well, fuck it, from any point in the last 50 years, actually, couldn't have lied.
I'm not sure why you're being so defensive, Mary.
Being defensive because I was on a perfectly legal march, exercising my right to protest, and I was assaulted by a police officer, and you're now trying to imply that I have some kind of violent past. And that, therefore I must be connected in some way to this unfortunate man's tragic death, and I find that annoying, I'm sorry. Are we done? So I have a very busy ward.
Sure.
Great, nice to meet you.
And you. And if we need to speak to you again, we'll be in touch.
What did you tell them? What did you fucking tell them?
I'm particularly guilty of thinking we know where something's going to go, but I suppose that's where the shocks come from, though.
Yeah.
Because if we're expecting
that's how you
shock,
write proper shocks, not like the cheap ones that you got in Sherlock. This is how you write a proper TV drama with proper characters, and
it strikes all the right balances. I like all the characters for various reasons. I think Mark Bonner was brilliant. I think Rosie Cavaliero was brilliant. I think the actress's name I've forgotten again, and I apologise, is brilliant. I just think it all works. There's not a cog.
Mimi.
Yeah, there's not a cog that doesn't work for me, and the partnership between Sanjeev Bhaskar and Nicola Walker just works. I tell you what, it almost feels like and this is obviously complete rubbish, but to me, when you watch them together on those more background casual scenes, you almost imagine that that's just them chatting as people.
Yeah.
That's why it works so well for me personally.